Call the meeting in order, please.
Mr. Conrad?
Here.
Mr. DePlacido?
Here.
Mr. Kobilka?
Here.
Mr. Kramer?
Here.
Mr. Palermo?
Here.
Dr. Ray?
Here.
Mr. Scatella?
Here.
Mrs. Wheaton?
Here.
Mr. Wilga?
Here.
Mr. Goldie?
Here.
And Attorney Senate?
Here.
1.02, approval of the revised agenda at your place.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pledge allegiance. If can everybody stand, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next brings us to the superintendent's report.
Mr. Palermo, we have 3 items on the superintendent's report this evening. Item 2.01 is the personnel report of July 30th, 2012. 2.02 is an E.E. Austin contract, and 2.03 is an A.W. Farrell contract.
So move.
Second.
This is a special meeting, and we're going to handle public comment a little different because of it's a special meeting with a limited agenda. So under the Sunshine Act, we're required to ask for public comment in regard to items 2.01, 2.02, and 2.03. They are the personnel report, E.E. Austin contract, and the W. Farrell contract. Does anybody have public comment on those items only? If you do, raise your hand. Mr. President, I don't see any requests for public comment. We could move forward with the discussion if there is any.
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Senate. Next is the regular.
Right. As I just indicated, this is a special meeting, and we're going to handle public comment rules a little different than a regular meeting. For a special meeting, the public comment is limited to the items that are on our agenda for tonight. The items that are on our agenda for tonight are the McDowell construction renovation issue, the moving of or renovation of the stadium, and the architectural contract. Those are the 3 items that are on the agenda for public comment. Just a few points in regard to public comment. We're trying to follow our policy. Mill Creek Township School District has a policy 903, and I am charged with making sure that policy is followed. So we want to try to keep decorum. We know we have a large crowd. I would ask you to please listen to every person that is talking. Honor that individual's opinion. We would appreciate if there weren't no catcalls, no outbursts in regard to individuals' opinion, because the school board would like to hear what people have to say and gather that information and make a decision based on that information. So in addition, we have time limits as set forth in the policy, and they're either 5 minutes if you registered in advance or 3 minutes if you registered here tonight at the meeting. Because there are so many individuals that want to talk tonight, we are going to hold fast to those 5-minute and 3-minute time periods. So when we ask you, or we advise you that your time is up, I would ask you to step away from the podium, even if you're not done, because somebody else needs to talk. And there is an overall time limitation in regard to all public comment tonight. Under the policy, it's 30 minutes. However, that's subject to board action to extend that time depending on how we go. In addition, obviously, we do not entertain and will not accept any public comment that is personally directive, obscene, abusive toward a person, or is irrelevant. So if you're bringing up issues that you think are relevant but are not on our agenda tonight, I'm going to stop you and redirect you to a topic that is relevant, that is on our agenda for tonight. If you have other public comment in regard to the Mill Creek Township School District, we have another public meeting, and you should come to that meeting and provide us the public comment on those other issues. With those simple rules, I think we'll go forward. Thank you.
Moving into the visitor section, 3.01. We have 2 speakers signed up for 5 minutes, and then numerous individuals signed up for 3 afterwards. We will start with the first person is Mr. Montagna.
Good evening, board members, Mr. Goldie, Mill Creek residents. I'd like to say thank you to the school board for having a meeting at McDowell High School auditorium. It's nice to be back. I've been attending your meetings and asking questions since May 29th, 2012. I've also been watching and listening to how this board is run. We've asked many questions why the school must come down. I'm sorry to say, but there has not been any one good reason given other than current situation does not meet the students' needs. You as the school board members and Mr. Goldie can and will do what you want with the power that has been placed in your hands. With great power comes great responsibility. We have many walks of life in Mill Creek. Not all have the extra $30 per 100,000 of its assessment to give to the school district for the time they remain a Mill Creek resident. And we did decide to repair the other schools that were mentioned in the feasibility studies, what would our taxes be raised to then per 100,000 of assessment? We were told that there is no way this could be put on the ballot because the question is not as simple as yes or no. And the community was not well informed on this matter to vote on. Let's not repeat the errors of our neighbors in the Erie City School District spending taxpayer dollars irresponsibly. In 2013 local elections, there will be 4 school board members that will ask for our votes again. And the answer to that will be a simple one. So I ask the school board tonight to show your constituents that not only do you care about the students, but also the community that has given you the power that you hold, and inform us on the options thoroughly so we have a better understanding why you're doing this. As the board stated previously, we have failed to inform the community. No New McDowell isn't going to fade away and will be the meeting place for new candidates to better represent us in the future. Also, at this time, I'd like to ask any board member to make a motion to extend public comment as needed. Thank you.
Next up, Ms. Lavin.
Good morning, good evening to everybody. The topic that I'd like to discuss this evening is finances. Several inquiries have been made and they always say that they can't give us definite information, but I did a little bit research on my own. Now, the school board, the school district now owes $59 million. You're proposing possibly borrowing another $100,000, and I know you're going to say it's sort of high, but if we take into consideration 14% overrun on contracts and everything, I'm going to take the figure of $150 million that you're going to borrow, because you have indicated you're going to roll over this debt. Now, if we use a 3% interest rate, it comes to $4 million per year that we have to pay on interest on this debt. This comes to $135 million over 30 years. It comes to a total of $285 million if you consider the interest and the principal on such a loan. If we go for the 4%, and I really think that this is a more realistic figure, and according to what Mr. Goldie said, that the first 6 years we will be paying the same amount. It comes out to about $6 million, which is really 6.9 that we have on the books right now. That comes to a total of $180 million that we would have to add on to the principal over a 30-year period of time, which gives us a debt of $330 million. I have to tell you something. I'm aghast by this, and I think most of the people here are aghast by that huge figure that you want to put us in debt. Right now, we are paying $6.9 million. I have seen on the educational channel that you propose that the additional sum that we'd have to be paying on the debt would be $2.8 million, which gives us a total of $9.7 million a year towards the debt. That's a 40.5% increase in debt over what we're paying now. There again, I don't think that the people that own property in Mill Creek, a lot of us don't want this type of debt for right now. I'd also like to know if you are using a bond issue or if you're having a mortgage because of the fact that you are not paying interest for 6 years. I always thought unless you had a zero coupon bond, you had to pay interest from the day that you borrowed this. Presently, there are now 21,519 properties that are taxed by the school district in Mill Creek. And this year you're collecting $46.2 million. The casinos are giving us somewhere in the neighborhood of $900 and some thousand, and we're getting money from the state and from the federal government. However, if you don't get this amount of money from the casinos and you don't get anything from the state or the federal government, this responsibility then goes to the taxpayers. Presently, there are 1% of the taxpayers who cannot pay their taxes each year. And if you calculate that over a period of 30 years at 215 properties, that's 6,450 people that are not paying their taxes and possibly losing their houses if they don't pay within 2 years. I think that this is a terrible, terrible burden financially that you're putting on the taxpayers, and I think that besides thinking about the children, you should think about the people out there who are going to have increases the amount that they have to probably pay for food because of the drought, increased amount in insurance plans, increased amount for everything in their life, and a decreased amount of money that they're earning on their investments. And we people do not feel that we should take on this extreme financial burden at this time. Thank you very much.
Mr. Bruno.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Bruno. I'm a Mill Creek resident. First, I want to thank all the concerned Mill Creek residents. Having a voice will make our country great. I also want to thank the school board. My wife and I moved to Mill Creek over 12 years ago with the intent of our children going to Mill Creek schools. They are 11 and 9 now and are attending Walnut Creek and Asbury. The education MTSD has given them has been well above average, and that direction starts with the school board, who have our children's best interests at heart. This past weekend, our family enjoyed Discover Presque Isle and took a tour of the lighthouse. There was a gentleman there answering questions about the lighthouse, and he made a comment, well, we tried improving the lighthouse 100 years ago, but we couldn't because, well, this is Erie and this is what happens here. This is the exact issue I'm talking about. I'm not going to pretend to be an architect or know what an electric system is subpar or be a finance guy. What I do know is this project is easily found on Mill Creek Township School District website. There is information from over 18 months ago, so it is obvious that your decision is not a knee-jerk reaction or was just made up in the last few months. It is obvious we need a new McDowell High School. Yes, a new school is expensive, but renovations are too. I do know this, renovations do help, but they do not last nearly as long as starting out new. So maintaining a renovated building will be more expensive in the short term. Metaphorically speaking, you can polish up a piece of crap, make it nice and shiny, and in the end, it's still a piece of crap. Locally, our community has been hit with hard times.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to entertain boos, claps in the middle of somebody commenting. You have to, if you want to clap, wait till the person ends, and then you can clap. But, you know, we should honor everybody's opinion. Everybody has an opinion in regard to this, and whether you like it or not, that doesn't matter. I'm sorry, Mr. Bruno.
Thank you. Locally, our community has been hit with hard times. Both Lord Corporation and GE have moved out high-paying, white-collar work out of our area. It's not that these corporations wanted to move. They had to move because there are not enough highly skilled white-collar employees in our area, and they cannot attract these people to Erie. As a community, we need to find ways of improving our area and make it more attractive to young white-collar families, just like Mill Creek is attractive to my wife and I 12 years ago. A new McDowell will certainly be attractive for everyone in the Erie area, not only to come here to live, but here to stay. My oldest daughter was diagnosed with a slight form of autism at 18 months. Today, you would not know she had any condition. Much of her success is due to Mill Creek schools. Mill Creek's continuous improvement, I repeat, continuous improvement, can be attributed to our fantastic teachers, and the teachers' resources are provided by the school board. A new McDowell will provide attractives to families, continuous improvement in education, and a new resource in our ever-changing world. I have faith in your decision of voting a yes to a new McDowell will provide our kids an even more fantastic opportunities than they already get from their teachers presently. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, Mr. Pitzner. Pitzer.
Mr. Palermo and school board members, I would like to address comments made by a school board member to the media. It was stated that his decision would not be influenced by a small group. I'm sorry. It was stated that his decision would not be influenced by a small group of people who do not represent the Mill Creek taxpayer. While I commend that statement on its surface, I would like to look deeper into what this small group represents. There are 1,500 people currently associated with this group, and it is growing every day. I feel this number is closer to 2,500 people when you add in spouses and/or other household members. I myself joined at the insistence of my wife. I am sure that each member of this group of 2,500 taxpayers have very easily been approached, each by at least 10 individuals supporting this group. That number alone now gives us approximately 2,500 members and Mill Creek taxpayers. We currently have approximately 55,000 Mill Creek residents. If we remove the number of people who are not of voting age and the number of people who typically do not vote for various reasons, we are left with approximately 45,000 or less active voters in the township. On that basis alone, this makes our group of 25,000 taxpayers, Mill Creek concerned voting taxpayers, the majority. I would like to remind the school board that our resolve strengthens with every passing day. And as a group, we will not go away, and as a group, we will remember. While the school board may decide not to listen to us today, I can assure you we will be heard in the voting booth. While I may be but one voice speaking at this time, please remember that as a group, we easily represent 25,000 voting taxpayers, which by definition does not represent a small group. Thank you for your time and consideration in this matter. Thank you.
Ms. Hanson, please.
Hello. Thank you for having us for this forum. My name is Julie Adler Hansen, and I come from 3 generations of Mill Creek alumni. I am married to David Hansen, also a McDowell graduate. Our son, David Wesley Hansen, a 2009 McDowell graduate, is currently a second-class midshipman at the United States Naval Academy, majoring in aeronautical engineering. Prior to his induction into the academy, he did a foundation year at a 150-year-old boarding school called The Hill. Alumni were from all over the world. In fact, it was stated General Douglas MacArthur said goodbye to his son at the Hill upon leaving for the European theater during World War II. Our son found it fascinating to be in the same rooms shared by former students of such significance. Upon parent weekend, my husband and I observed this school's traditional classrooms, including a chemistry lab that looked like it was out of the turn of the century, and I mean the 1900th century. We found the Hill invested their education dollars in educators and not buildings, unlike we are witnessing with this decision you are about to make. I also want to remark on the fact that you taxpayers may not know this, but this school board removed $600,000 from the science budget for next year. As a family member of one who endured what it takes to receive a coveted letter of assurance to a military academy, I want to see future McDowell students have every opportunity to compete at top levels for one of these appointments or any other science-related future that they desire. Our country is failing to compete globally, so I find no excuse for this $600,000 cut in the science budget other than the smoke and mirrors to build this monstrosity of a building. It only seems that the less people want. My final thought, being surrounded by the military in our family, I see this school board has created somewhat of a war between themselves and the taxpayers. Upon your vote tonight, school board members, you may find yourself winning this battle. However, we taxpayers will win the war by voting every one of you off who votes yes tonight to demolish a sound building.
Next up, Ms. Christensen.
Did you read that? Everybody lives in Texas.
What of our children has experienced the Mill Creek Schools District's honors classes, gifted services, and honors college? Our school district does an incredible job supporting and challenging these strong scholars. I feel that our students match and often exceed the academic successes of students from even the most highly selective high schools locally and across the state. But McDowell, unlike some high schools, doesn't just educate this type of student. It is here to meet the needs of all students in our district, whatever their special needs might be. A large factor in our choice to move to our current home was not the gifted services here. It was Mill Creek's reputation for providing the supportive services our child with a learning disability and IEP needed. Our school district has the learning support services that allowed our son to graduate and go on to be a successful college student. While our school district has many strengths, I also have some serious concerns about the current state of the high school facilities. The halls and classrooms are overly crowded. The lack of adequate classroom space meant that our son had a foreign language class in a room that had served as a storage closet. I feel that the current traveling between two buildings poses safety and truancy issues. Our son had classes across both buildings for all 4 years. It wasn't unusual for him to miss either the beginning or ending of a class due to the amount of time it takes to walk back and forth. It was a waste of valuable academic time. I support a consolidated high school building that can accommodate all 4 grades. I believe that one building will allow our staff and faculty more opportunities to provide the students of our district with the environment and options they need to succeed academically. We just received our school tax bill, and if I didn't owe it, There would certainly be a lot of things our family could do with that amount of money. But I do owe it, and I pay it, supporting the education of not only my own children, but all the children of our district. The possibility that my school taxes might go up in the future does not diminish my support for a consolidated high school. My daughter will likely graduate before what we are talking about tonight comes to fruition. I support the directors in making the decisions that will keep our district strong academically and physically well into the future. We are investing in all our children. I proudly pay my fair share, helping to enable the Mill Creek School District in providing the opportunities for academic success our children deserve. I would like to thank the school directors for their diligence in thoroughly researching the different options, for their conscientious stewardship of financial resources, and the way they have repeatedly encouraged public involvement in this process. I appreciate the fact, in the end, it's the students' well-being that motivates the decisions they make. Thank you.
Ms. Esser?
Thank you. Members of the school board, I'm standing here hopefully a voice of reason. I have seen a community express passionate voices on the No New McDowell. You have a community right now that you have listened to meeting after meeting. We express concerns in a pragmatic and logical platform. We see people very upset, very angry, and very frightened. We have a federal government who has run up $14 trillion in debt and a state government that has run up $127 billion in debt, and all figures that we, the people, have watched roll higher and faster than a slot machine in a casino daily. And we feel helpless. Now, on a community level, the school board has considered a debt that may well run over $100 million. And the previous comments were that there's figures, amazing figures, that it's really hard for the average person to wrap their head around, and I think that would be a common consensus. There's a growing demographic of taxpayers that have no rising incomes, and because baby boomers will be retiring. We have a demographic of younger children growing, families struggling, and figures show that there's a growing demographic in entitlements, and you know what that means. No taxes from those people. Facts. We have a declining enrollment in elementary schools. More people homeschool because of drugs in schools. And entire high schools are turning to online, open source learning platforms. And that is a genuine future. Even though 3 years have been invested in the time by the school board, this is not the criteria to move forward now, making a financial decision that makes the community feel it is held hostage to a single group's decision that is decidedly not the consensus of the mass. A growing mass. A community mass that strongly opposes that this is not the time to take on this kind of a debt load. It has been unanimous that renovations are a reasonable route and that education is the primary concern. A mega million project does not make dollars and cents. We are not the federal government who can print money. Contrary to what actions imply, the burden of proof does not lie on the taxpayers who propose this project, but solid, sound justification has truly not been met. All residents that have spoken before me have laid out a plethora of reasonable alternatives. These reasonable alternatives take into account economic and demographic realities of our community while meeting the educational needs of our children. That is the focus of our agenda. We have to look on what best serves the community, what best serves the students, what best serves the educators, and since we cannot print money, we definitely do have to look at the overall picture of the burden of the debt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Camino.
Good morning, members of the board, Mr. Goldie, and community members. Hi, my name is Shada Camino. I'm going into 10th grade this year at MIHS. I play basketball and lacrosse this year. I'm ambassador and on the honor roll. This past year as a freshman was amazing, but the only worry I had was walking to French, which was up at the high school. It was hard because I had to walk out of school and didn't know what the weather would be like. The worst was walking in the wintertime. McDowell is an amazing school, and I love going to the school, but I think it would be easier if students and future students at McDowell, if the two schools were put into one. McDowell hallways are really crowded, especially when students are walking to classes, and some spaces we don't even use. So therefore, I would like to thank the school board and superintendents for thinking about what's best for the students who are the future leaders of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Reese.
Thank you for this opportunity. Everybody, I voted for you because I trusted you to do what was best for my children's education, their safety, and the discipline. I voted for you so that you would be financially responsible with my money in our schools, just like I have to be in my home. Tonight, you will choose $100 million to combine schools based on an unnecessary 1970s failed pod philosophy of the education plan that 20% of the country is going to versus 80% that is staying with traditional education. Tonight you will choose whether to bulldoze a structurally sound building that comes with years of history for absolutely no valid reason, or combine two schools into a megastructure putting our kids' safety in jeopardy. Tonight you will choose whether or not to terminate all further work with an architect, saving the taxpayers $6 million in architect fees alone, or to hire local contractors to bid on renovations to both the existing senior and junior high schools while focusing on safety, education, updated technology with the millions in savings. Tonight you will choose if you will end the idea of your own VOTEC school, saving $5 million in the cost of construction, and let the Erie County VOTEC do the job that they are equipped to do. Or you will strap the taxpayers with millions in ongoing cost. Tonight you will choose to replace the football turf and track with the money that has been earmarked for it and terminate all plans to move the facility across the street, or to spend $10 million for absolutely no valid reason. Tonight you will choose whether you will suit the needs of our children's education and safety while keeping in mind the household budgets in the midst of the worst recession since the 1930s that was created by elected officials, not the taxpayers.
Ms. Gorney.
Good evening. The cost of this project is already very high. Though you are trying to keep it under $100 million, you know there is always overruns. This is another reason it needs to be put on a referendum vote.
Can you move forward? I'm sorry. Can you move forward? Thank you.
Somebody help her with the mic.
Yeah, and just come a little bit closer. Thank you.
Okay. Should I start over?
Yes.
Yeah.
The cost of this project is already very high, though you are trying to keep it under $100 million. You know there is always overruns. This is another reason it needs to be put on a referendum vote. Since there is so much consternation over this, I feel the best solution is to vote. Let the people speak. not the board, school board. What are you afraid of?
Ms. Myers.
Hi, I am here to speak because I am a member of the community, I'm a parent, and I am a teacher. I've been teaching at McDowell the past 10 years, and I can first-handedly list off a bunch of things that needs done at McDowell. We don't have any large group instructional rooms. We can't collaborate with other departments because there's no room. And there are problems. People want to diminish that, but there are definitely problems. However, people say to me, well, teachers teach the students, not the building. And, you know, I get criticized for saying that. And I can say that I think that a lot of that is true. We have excellent academic programs. We have excellent teachers. And just in the past couple years, we've been able to advance the department that I work in, that I just got a partnership with Edinburgh University that our students can now, by completing our program, earn 9 college credits for free by completing our program, which is a huge, you know, accomplishment. But I can say that right now, our resources are very limited. My classroom is in an old janitor's closet with no phone, no window. It's about 12 by 8. There's exposed pipes, and there is stained ceiling tiles. And I couldn't get in it for a while, too, because there was raccoons infested above. I also, my room is next to where the fire went off, and one of the fires. And I had smoke damage, but I had no water damage because the sprinklers also did not go off. But besides that, if we went to, I don't believe that renovation can solve all the problems that we've had at McDowell. I think that personally you need to consolidate in the plans and the meetings that I've been through, and I think financially consolidation makes the most sense. I know in my department, by consolidating, we can now offer my program to more students so that they can earn college credits and advance what they want to go into in their field. Right now, we cannot because as I said, we are limited on space and resources, even though our instruction is great. I think that your school is the cornerstone to your community, and I think that that's academically and athletically, and I think this consolidation will benefit both academics and athletics, and that as a community, we need to support our school system. I do support both projects, and I hope that you will vote yes to both, and that people will understand and realize how much that McDowell can benefit from this project. And I just hope that you vote yes.
At this time, the board needs to take action to extend the time for public comment because we're at 30 minutes. So we would need a motion to extend the time.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next up, Mr. Moore.
The members of this school board are elected to represent the citizens of Mill Creek Township and to make decisions regarding the administration of Mill Creek schools. The members of this board have, for months now, ignored the very citizens that they represent. They insist that the only way to provide a quality education to their students is to demolish and rebuild the learning facility itself. Yet, the mission of the district, as stated on their own website, insists that they provide a world-class education. I think that the citizens of Mill Creek have a right to question the need to demolish a facility that already provides world-class education and how it is to provide such an education if it is so ill-suited to the students' educational needs that the best option is to destroy it and start over. In spite of the large opposition to this project from day one, the board has plowed ahead with their plans, all the while dismissing the voices of those they claim to represent. We have heard from the board that this is not a done deal, yet their actions betray their words. At no point has the board thought that perhaps they should slow down this process and take into consideration the immense cost of this project and how it will affect their citizens. I don't see how dumping the citizens of Mill Creek into a money pit is going to benefit the education of their children. Furthermore, as a class of 2000 graduate, I have to wonder whether the renovations done to the high school prior to my attendance were a waste of money, or whether the fancy fake grass on Gus Anderson Field was worth it. I also have to wonder if the district chooses to make such a move in the middle of a recession, as well as how they can justify spending an amount of money on one school that exceeds the budget for the entire district. Of course, this is of no concern to Mr. Goldie, a resident of Fairview Township, who will not have to shoulder any of the burden. He will receive his salary from the Mill Creek taxpayers, all while not contributing a cent to the school district that he is alleged to serve, or the pet project that he so strongly believes is necessary. This entire process has reeked of cronyism and self-interest, and seems to have absolutely not a thing whatsoever to do with providing the school district or township citizens and students with something it actually needs. It's stunning how the Erie School District, whose financial woes are certainly no secret, can afford to renovate and maintain buildings much older than McDowell and not spend $100 million doing it. The Erie School District did in fact build a new high school not too long ago, but there's no dispute that they actually needed it. Why these board members want to waste taxpayer money on something not needed is beyond me. In closing, I urge the members of this board to put the needs of its citizens, as stated to the board by the citizens themselves, above the Oedipal complex needs of their collective egos.
Mr. Fox.
Thank you to all of the school board members for your continued service to the community. Mrs. Mary Ray, I appreciate our online correspondence and your interactions with no New McDowell organization. The Mill Creek School Board communicates ineffectively. I have encountered difficulties learning details about any of the proposed McDowell projects. However, I will focus my attention on the proposal to build a new mega school. Aside from the Why McDowell, Why Now propaganda video, I have not found any significant data regarding this project. In fact, even the video left me with many unanswered questions. For instance, why is one of your top 7 justifications for this project the crowded hallways and stairwells? I fail to recall any hallway casualties during my 2 years at MHS. Likewise, I fail to see why the roofing issue is on the Why McDowell, Why Now list, considering the new Asbury School recently suffered costly water damage. It should be clear from experience that construction of a new building comes with its own problems. I implore you to offer the public more detail regarding the necessity of this project. If there is a significant safety concern or a critical failure in the building that offers opposition to each child's learning experience, then let us know about it. I simply see no evidence on your headline page of the necessity of this project. Your ambiguous claims that it is in the best interest of students is not sufficient justification for something of this scope. As a recent graduate, class of 2010, I'd like to offer the board a reality check. My education was not hindered by the structure of MHS. My classrooms were not cramped, and I had state-of-the-art technology. We even had smart boards. I insist that my education was most affected by the quality of teachers and books. I believe your assessment of what constitutes critical need is critically flawed. Of course, the board probably has research to counter my claims, and that's fine. Despite all the arguments you have heard from the public, I'm aware that some board members will vote based on the trustee model of representation. That is, that the public is generally uneducated and doesn't know what's good for it. You will claim that you have to make a tough call based on your better judgment. Unfortunately, I do not follow that model. I firmly believe in the delegate model of representation that the Board of Education should act as a conduit for the public's interest, so I offer a compromise. The public will inform you of our needs and concerns, and you will provide us with additional research and your humble conclusions. After all, this is a big deal. To quote an online comment by board member Mary Ray, this decision is heart-wrenching, as I have an incredibly complex pluses and minuses list. You're absolutely right, Mrs. Ray, and thank you. So share more of your information with the public and continue to debate this issue. Together we can create an even brighter future for Mill Creek students. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bauer.
Good evening. 5 years ago, my husband and I made the decision to move from Erie to Mill Creek for our children so they can attend school in the Mill Creek district. It was the right decision. They're receiving an excellent education. First at Asbury, they are both at Walnut Creek. As a parent and a taxpayer, I support the consolidation as the best option for McDowell. I've listened to the proposals, the pros, the cons, and I believe this is not only in the best interest for the education and the safety of our students, but for the Mill Creek community. I'd like to thank the school board for all of their work educating the community on this project and their dedication not only to my children, but all the children of Mill Creek. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Canfield.
Members of the board, there's been a lot of opinions and issues exchanged over the past few months. And as I mentioned a couple months ago, I believe you're all good people, you're very bright, well-educated, and we depend on you for what's going to happen here. All I can do is ask you to rely on your conscience, to do the right thing for the biggest majority of Mill Creek people. We all want what's best for our children's education. I particularly want to thank 3 members of the school board, Mike Kabilka, Dr. Mary Ray, John DePlacido, for listening. We appreciate your exchange, and we ask, do what you can. We're depending on you. I also want to thank Gino Montagna for his efforts with No New McDowell. He's been tireless in trying to help us all. Lou's help, Linda, Ann, and Donna in untiring efforts to bring it to the best possible resolution. I want to thank everybody here for coming because it's very great to have the support for No New McDowell. Thank you.
Mr. Bates.
Board members, Mr. Superintendent, Mill Creek citizens. Last year, approximately this time, I came to the meeting at the Education Center, and at that time, I had told you that I felt everybody on that board has an agenda for whatever reason. Nobody serves in this line of fire without a reason. Your agenda was this school, I feel, for a lot of you. And at that time, I had asked you, who among you, this is a rhetorical question, I did not expect an answer, who speaks for me on this board? Right now, it looks like 2 of you speak for me. This financing, you've heard everybody say it, and I don't want to be repetitive, but this financing sounds like smoke and mirrors. You know, you sound like a furniture salesman. No money down, no interest. You got till 2018 to pay it off, or start paying it off. I'm sorry, but you know, I grew up, there is no free lunch. And as far as this being, somebody also mentioned to me that this is only a $30 million decision. You're right, it's a difference between 70 or 100. But in my book, 30 million is still a lot of cash. I want to commend that teacher that stood up and spoke, because for the first time the teachers have come out and said something. Because for years, I think anybody who lives in Mill Creek knows that the unseen hand behind the Mill Creek School Board is the MEA. Now, whether you like it or not, we know what's going on. I feel bad that some of the previous speakers have threatened or tried to cajole or whatever it is that they've tried to do. I don't have anything great rhetorical to say to fire up the crowd and say, hey, let's get them going. But I know that the election's next year and the rest of us do too. I only ask that you do the right thing for the taxpayers. Thank you.
Ms. McFarland.
Good evening, school board, Mr. Goldie.
I've spoken at school board meetings before, and I've asked questions about the buildings. And tonight I'm here for a little bit different of a, I guess, a comment. I'd like you to look at me. Not that I'm 45 years old, not that I'm female, not that I'm a graduate. None of that truly matters. But I've talked to the people in the community. I've talked to my neighbors, who in my own neighborhood, I have 4 disabled, including myself. I have retirees. I have single parent families. And I came from a blue collar family. I worked in a white collar business, quite a few. And so I think I have a well-rounded background. But the point is that if you look at me, you look at the people who truly cannot afford the 100 million or whatever it may come to. I do know that we need repairs. I do know that we need to restructure this school in some fashion, but it is a structurally sound school. With that, I've also talked to people that have asked me to speak for them, and then I've had people that have said to me, I'm sorry, I can't comment. I'm a teacher and I'm afraid to lose my job. That made me really sad. I think the teacher that spoke up, that's wonderful. The students that have spoke up that want the consolidation, that's wonderful. I, for myself, am against it. But I'm glad that we have this type of forum that we can all stand up and we can all speak. Most everyone that is here has heard the mission statement of No New McDowell. We are for the repairs. We're for what is necessary, but we're not for the overspending. We need to be fiscally, I'm sorry if I misspeak, responsible. It's just, I mean, look around. Look at everybody. Look how many elderly you have here. You can't tell if the person is disabled or not. You don't know what we come from. There are white-collar workers here. We do need more white-collar people in this community. We do need more blue-collar jobs in this community. But we all are coming together tonight as, you know, a community. And I wish that you would look at us as such. I've had some school board members comment to me that they agree with my enrichment, not necessarily competitiveness. Competitiveness is important. My own nephew was in ASL honors. He competed against different schools all over Pennsylvania, Ohio, won awards. That's not necessarily what's important for everybody. What is important?
Your time is up, ma'am.
Can I just say one more thing?
No.
Can I just finish my
sentence?
Thank you. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you, board.
I apologize if I mess this name up. Miss Bogalski?
My name is Carol Bujnowski.
I did
Pretty
that.
close.
I wasn't that close.
I didn't plan on speaking this evening, and I really appreciate being able to tell you some of the things that I've thought of. If everybody can remember, years ago, Academy High School was really, they couldn't have students in there. Those students were spread out over all of the city because it was condemned, because the floor was coming up, because of all the problems with Academy High. But then a school took over and corrected some of those things. Now you have people are really working hard to get into that school, which tells you it's the studying and the learning, the teachers, not necessarily the building. Now this building is just about as old as I am, and you're going to tear it down. It's built like a fortress, and you're going to put up something that is like Asbury. Now, Asbury has had a little problem. I think it's called mold. Now, you expect all of those students to be able to enter again in September, and that's going to be a trick. Thank you very much for letting me talk.
Thank you. Beth Conrad.
Hi, I'm a 1980 graduate of McDowell. My 3 children graduated in 7, 10, and 12. And I would like to say that I am for this consolidation. All 3 of my children came home and told me about the conditions of the school. Every day I had to listen to them complain about the conditions of the school. Frankly, I really wanted something to be done years ago because of this. What really bothers me is I've been called names because of my opinion. I have been told that by people that my opinion really, because I'm biased, because my brother happens to be on the school board. But believe me,
I'm sorry, folks. Please.
For the last 40 years, my brother has never told me what to do, and he never will. I have my own opinion, and I am going to stand fast on that. This is because of my children. They would come home every day. My daughter lost her binder in her locker and could not find it for 5 days. It was 5 lockers down. She had a paper that was due. Believe me, she told the teachers that she had it. But guess what? It was 5 lockers down because the hole in the locker drove it down to the other student's locker. My other daughter is going into a chemistry. You can mumble all you want, but I'm telling the truth. My other daughter is in a chemistry-based subject right now. The chemistry labs were atrocious. She's worried that she's going to go to Slippery Rock in the fall and not be able to compete with the other children who came with students who did have the adequate chemistry labs. Not because of the teachers, but because of the facility. The teachers in Mill Creek are wonderful. They're excellent. They're 100%. And I'm telling you now that consolidation is necessary for the safety and for the education of these students. I hope that you vote yes, because I wanted my children to have the best, and they didn't have the best facilities. They had the best teachers, but they did not have the best facilities. Thank you.
Stephanie Conrad.
I am a taxpayer, a parent of 2 children in the Mill Creek Township School District, and yes, my husband is on the board. And I would like to say from a first-hand point of view for over the past 2 years that this project is not one that's being thrown together or rushed through. My husband, week after week, attended meetings, and all of these things were gathered and discussed and researched. He would come home, we would talk through some of the proposals as they've been brought up over the past couple months. He shared these proposals with friends, family members, neighbors, other community members. This is something that has truly been agonized over. He has sat and looked at every figure, every plan. So this is not something that is being decided upon lightly. There have been numerous personal attacks. There's been an insurmountable amount of jeering that just continues to go along with anybody who disagrees with this project. And I think that just kind of sets the tone for those who do disagree. There are a lot of people who have so many valid concerns about the project, but there are the same amount, possibly even more, who really want this project to go through. McDowell does have history. There is nostalgia. I think that it is really the job of the board to look towards the future and what is to really benefit our students and our community in the future. If you consolidate, there's a lot of expense up front, but now we're looking at one building to maintain over the next several decades, rather than having 2 older buildings to maintain and continue to improve upon. As has been mentioned, there are other buildings that will be needing that as well. So again, I want to restate that this is not a decision that is being taken lightly. It has been agonized over for years, and I think that consolidation is definitely in the best interest for our school district. Thank you.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent Goldie. My name's Matt McLaughlin. I'm a 37-year-old father of 3 with my beautiful wife, who happens to be a school teacher in the Erie City School District. I am a union rep, but most importantly, I'm a taxpayer here in the Mill Creek School District. When I left Erie in '97 and decided to move my family and my wife back here to raise our children around family, we chose Mill Creek School District, even though my wife and I are both products of the Erie City School District, because of the reputation of the Mill Creek Township School District and McDowell High School. Our daughter is a 5th grade student this year at Tracy Elementary, and soon she'll be in McDowell, probably too soon than any parent likes to admit. But we also have 2 3-year-old twins that will be students at McDowell eventually. But most importantly here is I'm an electrician, and I've been in this facility. I've been in the facility down the way. I know what's in the ceiling, and I know what's in the basement of these facilities. They need major work done. The thing is this building was built, I believe, in 1955. And walking through the parking lot tonight, I didn't see any cars built in 1955. I happen to own a car that was built in 1956. These cars, we can restore them, we can put them back together, but when it's all said and done with a shiny new engine and a shiny new paint job, it's a vehicle that was still built in 1955. Same with the building. You can do as much as you want, but the systems, the inside, the nuts and bolts of these buildings are still that old. They need to be replaced. I am for the consolidation of the 2 buildings and tearing down a McDowell High School. I realize the tradition that's here at McDowell, but sometimes tradition has to give way, just like the gentleman said about the lighthouse. It's a historical monument, that's why they don't update it. And this is Erie. Nothing seems to get updated in Erie. Even if you leave for 10 years and come back, a lot of things, too many things stay the same, and that's why a lot of people are leaving. I'm for the consolidation.
Mr. Wright.
Hi. I want to thank the school board for all their service and make a few comments here.
Mr. Wright, could you adjust the mic?
Okay. Hi, I want to thank the school board for all their service and make a few comments here. As a parent, I think all of us want our children to go to the best schools in the country and have the best buildings and the best facilities and the best teachers. But many years ago, when my daughter was getting ready to enter college, we had to sit down and do a reality check that they're, a financial reality, and you have to reconcile what you want with what you can afford. And right now, I don't think we can afford to move on with knocking down this school and consolidating. It just isn't there. The economy's not good now, and there's no chance of it getting any better anytime soon. And I think the fear of most of the people in the community, a lot of them that I've talked to, is they're looking in the papers, they're reading what's going on around us, and I think everybody's fearful that we're going to end up in the same predicament and the same mess and the same quandary that the Erie School District did. And I think, we don't want to go there. Now, in the past meetings, you've talked about the state grants. You've talked about federal grants. We all know that there's no way that any of you can guarantee that any of that money's going to come through, that it's going to come to fruition. You have to apply for that money, and you have to wait for the money to come through. I think the board is banking on this money coming through. It's not guaranteed. And if you listen to our governor, Mr. Corbett, he's tightening up on everything because the state government's in bad shape. And if you're looking for federal money, where's that coming from? We're in a worse deficit situation right now than this country's ever been in. And and all I'm asking is that when the board votes that they vote on fact, they don't vote on assumption, that they vote on the reality of the economy, the reality of our financial situation, and don't put us in dire straits the way the Erie School Board has put the city of Erie. You know, and I want you to consider how it's going to impact the citizens of Mill Creek, you know, with your vote. You know, I'm a baby boomer, I'm a retired guy, and this whole situation with the money we're spending on this school district kind of worries me, because I'm on a fixed income. When these taxes start going up, am I going to get priced out of my house because my taxes are going too high? You know, a lot of you fellas up there on the board, you're pretty young. You know, you need to think about the elderly in this community and how it's going to impact them. And there's a large percentage of us. There's a lot of baby boomers out there. You know, one other comment I want to make that I think has gotten lost. I brought this up at other meetings. I think the big growth spot in Mill Creek Township is going to be East Mill Creek, over in the Bell Valley area. There's a lot of land over there. I think if we're going to spend this much money and we want to alleviate overcrowding,
Mr. Wright, your time is up.
Maybe we ought to consider a school there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Blumish?